Good morning. Okay. Today we're going to be looking at Mishtann Foods Limited. So, while doing research for long opportunities regarding me approaching some hedge funds with ideas, I went through the screener, right? After doing research and finding especially common factors, common criteria amongst their investment strategies, the top three hedge funds that I'm looking at, I put it through the screener, right? Which is, we're going to come to this, but I put it through the screener where I follow the criteria of strong fundamentals, 3 to 5 year growth potential, commanding a higher PE, avoiding popular names to achieve multi-bagger returns. That's very important. Early identification before mainstream attention. Entering at reasonable valuations, focusing on potential re-rating of the particular equity, EPS growth, PE re-rating, and of course, profitability over market cap. So, following these criteria, I came to find Mishtan Foods Limited. And from it turning a buy idea, it is now quite the opposite because my thesis is such that I believe if anything, it's a short opportunity. I would stay out of it, but it is a short opportunity for reasons that will be explained in this video. I believe there is malpractice, fraud, and money laundering being involved in this particular company after evaluating its financials and going through corporate events and news and announcements, which we are going to take a look at. So let's get right into it. First and foremost, we have the website of Mishtan Foods Limited. They work in primarily basmati rice, dal, wheat, and salt. So within the basmati rice and their other product lines, they tend to have three categories of products, as you can say, working up and sort of a tier format depending on their quality, so as to um, have a sort of marketing spliff with quantity and with quality rather than quantity, excuse me, because they function in 30, 40, 50 kg um, rice, dal, and wheat packages. So they have here raw, cellar, and steam. Right? You go to their dal and tur dal and wheat, they just sell in the 30 kg format. And now they have your Himalayan rock salt, they have iodized crystal, and then they have standard iodized salt, all in 1 kg packaging. So as you can see, the website again is pretty well done. You go through it, you see they have gone out of their way to involve all of these recipes. They have a wide array of, just it looks visually appealing, looks like the company is doing well from a first impression perspective, right? You go here, the recipes category, see what I mean. And all the vegetarian, non-vegetarian options. Go to investor relations, they have everything available here, right? So again, seeming like it's a very first impressions wise, you can vouch for this yourself that they're seeming like they know what they're doing, right? But now let's move to the financials. Let's move to the financials. One moment. So here we take a look at it, right? Market cap 1500 CR, running at 4.2 on PE, 88% return on capital employed. You don't have dividends, but that's fine, not to worry about, especially at face value. You have book value of 7.38 with the share trading at 14.3 right now. So about a 2 PB. And you got a very, very above average ROE. Intrinsic value showing 160, but anyways, we're not going to get into that. You don't make discounted cash flows and trading comps with a company like this. So you go with a solely qualitative and quantitative absolutely standpoint as well, but that quantitative aspect comes from going over and analyzing the actual financials, the financial accounting going on, and in this case, the malpractice. Anyways, continuing on to it, we also see that there's no debt in the company. They have basically no debt, right? Look at the price of the IPO, the BSE, face value 1 rupee, back in 2016, shot up, you know, 32, 34, and then as you can see, it continued having a reversal in a downtrend, making lower lows, lower highs. We see here automatically, it's actually very interesting. We see head and shoulders being formed if you look at it, right? The shoulders are actually not equal. Would be hard to pick up. I'll be very honest in this time frame because it would have definitely in what is this? 24th May. Yes, after 24th May when it had this temporary bull run, it's very manipulating because you see it crossed this resistance of 24, right? So it may seem to traders that it's breaking the head and shoulders, and perhaps it is a breakout, a reversal breakout. But no, there was a rejection, continued to go down and form the same pattern until we see a consolidation pretty much here in the 2 to 4 rupee range, 2.5, you could say. After which, then since we've reached the 2021 point, if we pull up the 3 year chart, we see it's not that bad, right? It's not that bad. And actually speaking, right now, maybe give it another couple of months when it gets to around the 13, the 11 rupee mark right here, we could see it potentially soon entering the buy zone around there. Of course, it's hard to tell right now, but as you can see, it's actually below the 50 DMA, the 200 DMA as well, and volume is low, so that's not the best. But anyways, this is just talking pure technicals. This doesn't actually mean anything with this particular security, and we are going to now figure out why. So go to the PE ratio here. We see again, it's pretty much it's matching the price, you would say, correct? Quite accurate, right? Up until something that happens on the 2nd of Feb 2024. Right now, mind you, this is a note for the entire video. It's raw, unstructured, and simply me voicing my the thoughts in my head since I've been researching this company for the last 2 days, especially with the high hopes and optimistic mindset of it being a potential multi-bagger, as I said, and following a bull run instead of quite the opposite of what I expect now. I know something I was quite interested and intrigued in pitching had it all gone good, but perhaps this is a blessing in disguise because now, second stock into it for a reporting journey at Vaish Equity Reports and Research, we have potentially found a case of fraud. So we see that the PE from 200 has fallen now all the way to 4.3, right? And get this, the EPS from 0.09 has shot up to 2.55 rupees a share, right? Absolutely insane. 3.33 right here. We're going to ignore the pros and cons. We're going to come back to that. We see a peer comparison here. PE, Mishtann Foods, lowest. Return on capital, highest. Everything looking absolutely great for Mishtan, right? So now you can see why it popped up on the screener and why it looks so tempting for the novice investor and frankly anyone who is looking to find a stock that is fundamentally undervalued, especially in an industry like FMCG, which is rocking it in India in the markets and has a lot of scope to go forward. So we go through profits and what do we see? We see healthy movement, right? There's zero profit in 2017, going all the way up to 108. Pretty steadfast manner, except here we're seeing an exponential jump between March to June, and then March of 23 to June of 23 again. So these 4 quarters, we've seen exponential growth. And since it's been gradual, but getting there. Their net profit also been increasing, and then we see EPS growth. Crazy EPS growth. Again, so fundamentally strong and eye-catching, you know what I mean? So, yeah, but we see that their total liabilities has always met their total assets. Their forensic and financial accounting has been on point. But the manipulation behind it is what we're going to discuss now, right? Because at the end of the day, there's a reason why they've been so successful so far in their endeavors. And the promoters, the Patel family, has been profiting. So very important. We see this exponential growth in profits, right? And we see them reflecting profits that are absolutely exponential in, say, March of 23, March of 24, March of 2018. And by the way, they've missed out on the years in the middle, 2019 to 22. I don't know if that's an issue with Screener or if it's the company. By the way, now we're getting into the transition. Now we're getting to the other side now that we've given an introduction to the company. Uh, So, as I was saying, I don't know if it's the company, Mishtann Foods, that's somehow involved in, trying to minimize third-party information like this, or if it's cleaner, we're not going to speculate. We're going to give them the benefit of the doubt there. But anyways, I can tell you from my raw research that yes, they did have setbacks in terms of their profits and sales during COVID, but that's not something out of the blue, right? I mean, we saw restrictions and regulations taking place in the manufacturing, FMCG, frankly, all industries. So that's not something that we'd worry about for now, right? But when we get to the cash flow, we see that they've never reported a positive cash flow, basically, all things considered. And what does that tell you? That tells you that there's no shareholder value. They're not giving back to shareholders in terms of dividends, buybacks, nothing, right? They're showing a profit, which means they have to pay tax, right? But wait, their tax rate is 1 to 2%. I don't have that value in front of me right now, but I can tell you the tax rate is 1 to 2%. Here we can see the cons. The tax rate seems low. That's seeming a little odd, right? Now you'd think that they're showing these profits so they'd be paying the taxes, but they're not. So what are they getting out of this? Well, they're not having to pay any taxes, and they are now showing this exponential growth on their sheets to attract potential investors. Those that are screening new novice investors in the Indian markets, we're seeing an influx of capital coming in, both retail and institutional, in the Indian markets. And so this would be something that immediately catches your eye, right? But there's no cash flow coming in, so there's no value like that, which is the foundation of whatever little experience I've started in the last year and a half, 2 years. I've been seeing these high profile investors, very, very smart individuals. I'm not going to take any names right now, but I can tell you that they all have, well, not all of them, but most of them have cash flow generation as their core fundamental values and strategies, which is absolutely true, right? Whether it's private equity or public companies as well. Either way, it doesn't matter. You need positive cash flows for shareholder value, and that's not here. We go to ratios and we see that debtor days have been increasing as well. Massive fluctuations, right? Which is already a red flag, but we see in March 2024, 168 the debtor days, which is entailing a 178-day cash conversion cycle. That's too much. It's too much for most sectors, especially the FMCG. When you look at its peers, it's nothing like this. It'd be around 18, 20, 25 max, right? Now we're going to come back to all of this in our conclusion. We see shareholding pattern, right? Let's go to the years. And here we have, again, we're going through first impressions right now, right? March 2017, 39.33% promoters that have been working their way up and they're stagnated at around the 49 range. But we see recently they've offloaded 4% March 24 to September 24, which, again, you wouldn't necessarily think too much of. Yes, is promoters offloading a certain share bad? Yeah. Like at face value, absolutely. It's not the best signal. However, you also need to understand that at the end of the day, promoters need to cash in as well at times. And so it's not something to start worrying about immediately. Is it something to start looking into? Absolutely. But something to worry about? No. But then we see that, okay, fine, that's the case. But we see FIIs have actually increased their stake from zero, not being involved at all, entered the game in 23, update in 24, and further update in September of 24, which is unique because, as you know, FIIs have been massive net sellers in the last 1.5, 2 months, and we haven't really seen an influx at all and quite the opposite in the Indian markets. So again, great thing, right? Green flag, or so we think. Now let's move on to the announcements, the corporate announcements, right? So although here we have three categories, we have the intermissions to the stock exchanges, uh, we have newspaper advertisements, which are frankly very relevant. They should have probably included this at the bottom of the website. But the most important and ironically miscellaneous named are all of these announcements because they tell a story about the company, a fraudulent story. And so I took the time out to extract the most relevant ones and form a timeline because it's all random. So first off, we see that there is a code for independent directors. They published a code with guidelines for professional conduct, role and functions, duties. Great. Green flag for sure. We see it again, another one right after another code of conduct for directors and board members. Positive sentiment among shareholders, trying to reaffirm that they're in good hands, or once again, so we think. So, as you remember, I said that basmati rice is their number one product, and they have since been trying to expand their product segments, and so they entered wheat, dal, and salt. Here we see on the auspicious occasion of Akshaya Tritiya, they chose to launch their rock salt in the domestic markets. And here they claim that they are going to use their retail network of approximately 72,000 retailers, right, to distribute this particular product. I talk about the health benefits. Fine. Next up in May 19, 2022, they announce a bonus share, right? Now, a one-to-one bonus share. Now, this is not meant to be confused with something that people try think of immediately. And first impression after hearing a one-to-one bonus share, they think, okay, that means I'm getting one extra share, so I'm doubling my valuation. No, you're not. You're not doubling your valuation. Uh, could you see a small spike, maybe 3-4% gain in the stock because of positive sentiment? Yes, but what is the company doing? Basically considered splitting a share. They're taking out of their reserves and they're transferring it into share capital, right? So do not mistake it with that. Financially speaking, this is not something to cause, oh, it's a reversal and to take, in a very, very positive light. So moving on, we see that they're trying to do their best at least in terms of trying to gain good good sentiments from their shareholders. We see then they receive 100, they have bagged orders from major retailers for 1,700 metric tons. The supply of these orders will commence from July 2022. Now, see, this is all great, but again, I'd like to see this reflect in their financials besides just their revenue and profit spike. That's not enough after hearing this, right? One moment. After that, on 6th of January 2023. Now, this is very interesting. Disclosure under Regulation 30 of SEBI. Nature of fraud, default, and arrest. Mr. Hitesh G. Patel, the CEO, acting director of this company, Mishtann, was arrested for alleged tax evasion and GST fraud. Bail has been granted and Mr. Patel has been freed. So, this is the first major red flag. I know I've said that before, and I'm going to keep on saying that because my thoughts are all over the place, and there are a lot of points that we need to cover that are unstructured but needs to be told because you will be able to put all the pieces together and get a glimpse of the health of this company. That is the goal. That is the goal of this video. That is the goal of these reports. And in this particular case, we're going to attain it by listing it all out as we get it. So we see this CEO arrested. Now, 20th April 2023, we have them essentially incorporating a wholly owned subsidiary company, Grow and Grub Nutrients FZ LLC in the UAE on April 19th, 2023. So now they've set up a wholly owned subsidiary in the UAE, right? Now let's see something that automatically doesn't necessarily make sense, right? Because they should be focusing their resources on first fixing their margins here in India, especially with a current stable rice industry and further scope to grow. But we see them creating this subsidiary. Let's see what they're doing with it and how they're going about it. Right. Soon after, we see Mishtan Foods incorporates the wholly owned subsidiary in UAE and then looks to import Thai rice and jasmine rice from Thailand. Now, they have not showed or depicted this anywhere on their website. It's not there. There's no jasmine rights that's being imported. And since they have marked this as their primary purpose of setting up the subsidiary in the UAE, that raises certain flags. That raises certain flags. We see here they've used the strained supply of rice as a result of the Ukraine war going on, the global rice shortage looming large, dubbed as the worst in 20 years. That they're talking about how it's strategically located, their manufacturing facility. And they give good reasons in general, again, at face value, for having this import of jasmine rice from Thailand. But again, the practical value and the practical evidence is missing. Now, again, soon after, Soon after, we have Mishtann Foods is looking to introduce new products aims to increase presence in Africa. Furthermore, FIIs have increased their stake. Now, again, the fact that Mishtann Foods is looking to expand to Africa when having cash flow problems currently is surprising again, is a red flag that it doesn't make any sense from a strategic point of view, right? Especially now that it's not been reflected in the last year, because we see this is dated 1.5 years ago now almost. We also see that Nomura Singapore Limited ODI has increased their stake. This is now the instance of the FIIs coming in place. And by the way, it's important to note Singapore. Remember this. That's going to be our next point or the one after that. June 22nd, 2023, SEBI sends them an inquiry regarding the price movement of shares dated 21st June 2023. Let's take a look at the charts to remember what happened June of 2023. June of 2023, right here, we saw it fall from a high of 18.65 all the way to 20 to 18 point to 8.13, excuse me. Significant bear movement, enough to warrant an inquiry from SEBI. So their response, Mishtann's response to this was there is no pending information or any impending announcement which have a bearing on price movement of the company. The movement in the share price of the company appears to be due to market conditions and market driven, and the company is in no way connected with any such movement in price. All right, continuing the reassurance attempts. But we see June 27, 2023. Reference administrative warning letter received from SEBI dated May 31st, 2023. That previous mail. It is observed that the managing director was arrested on July 19th, 2022, but the disclosure was made on January 6th, 2023, with delay of 170 days, and that too after the matter was taken by SEBI. The arrest of the MD is deemed as material event and is required to be disclosed under Regulation 30 of SEBI no later than 24 hours from the occurrence of the event or information. So let me get this straight. They took upwards of 7 months to officially report that their CEO was arrested. What does that tell you about the management of the company? I'm afraid it reflects extremely poorly. Very important uh, announcement to remember. Right. Now we move on to August. Nomura Singapore Limited actually further hikes their stake in Mishtann Foods Limited, increasing its shareholding to over 2% of total share capital. But now getting to the sweet part. Now getting to the sweet part. Mishtann Foods Limited hereby informs SEBI that they have incorporated a wholly owned subsidiary named Grow and Mo Nutri-Foods Pte. Ltd. in Singapore on December 22nd, 2023. What are the odds that number one, they receive significant foreign financial institutional investment in a time of bear movement and not so good sentiment in Indian markets. Number two, when they have themselves been reflecting extremely poor management and have been raising red flags as a company. And number three, based out of Singapore, and now their subsidiary based out of Singapore. This is where the money laundering aspect is coming into place. So the question that I raise is there any money laundering being involved? Now, again, we're not going to jump to any accusations or speculations like that. Well, I suppose it is a speculation, but it's going to remain just that. And it will play an integral role in our analysis at the end of the day, in our conclusion. Either way, we work on a game of probability, and probability is signifying that that is probably the case. So we move on to the next. Now, we've gone through these financials, right? We've gone through the corporate announcements. Few other notes to make. Remember here, investor relations. Remember how they had given bonus shares 1-to-1, 1:1? They also now issued a right to buy shares just now in 2024. Now, what did they do? For every 32 shares, you get one RE, one share that you are entitled and have the entitlement to buy at 14 rupees, right? So you can buy it at 14 rupees. Now, what do I think that they're doing here to near our conclusion and to sum up the negative aspects of this company? I believe that Mishtann Foods Limited is involved in fraud and money laundering by the means explained so far, and fraudulent behavior by manipulating the PE of the stock and other financials such as the market cap, the return on capital employed, um, the profit, the increasing EPS, etc., to onboard potential investors, especially novice investors that all look to screen, right? Following, as I said, these tools, the screening tools. I put the market cap, the PE, the ROCE, whatever I wanted. I put that and I found Mishtan Foods, right? I found Mishtan Foods. And so they are onboarding, inciting investors like that into thinking that they're sitting on gold in a potential multi-bagger. But they're not realizing that these profits are linked to high debtor days. Everything is linked here. You see, the profits and the revenue is linked to the debtor days right here. What does that mean? That means that a significant amount of the profits and the revenue is coming from accounts trades receivable. So what do I think is going to happen? I think that soon enough, my analysis dictates soon enough, chances are that they are going to write this off as impairment of financial instruments because they're going to claim that their debtors defaulted. They're going to find any way to, at the end of the day, minimize their profits, right? Because this game is not going to last too long with zero cash flow and 300 crores in profit. It's not going to last too long. So they got to find a way to do that. They got to find a way to do that. So they're going to write that off, get that tax write-off and impairment, and count that as an expense. Then We see they issued bonus shares. What does that do when you issue a bonus share? Again, generally good sentiment, but you're doing it at the cost of dividends, right? Why don't you give dividends instead? If you have these profits, why don't you give dividends? Fact of the matter is that they did not want to create any shareholder value. They didn't want to do chances are because there is internal mismanagement and internal mismanagement of funds and laundering going on. Instead, they take out from the reserves, give it back in share capital, and get another tax write-off. Get another tax write-off, right? Because it's cheaper to do this than to give off dividends. They can keep the funds inside. The fact that there's speculation through internal holdings that their promoter holdings is actually more significant than this. But let's get into some other key facts. Let's get into some other key facts. One moment. Now, I had to do some digging to find this, but here loud and clear. There was a fire broke out at the registered office of the company on 6th May 2022. According to the company, all the computer system and digital data as well as physical records were burnt or destroyed. Now, the company has prepared the minutes for the various meetings held based on resolutions passed at such meetings and submitted to various authorities. In view of this, we could not make the physical inspection and verifications such detailed registers and other records. Must have been one hell of a fire to destroy all of that evidence. That's oddly practical. Two directors have resigned. Again, speculation from online sources I'm seeing in front of me that the business has huge insider ownership, about 80% of outstanding shares. Important. In their reports, in their financial reports, they have not once mentioned the quantity of rice that they've sold. And they've mentioned the domestic and export breakdown in the footnotes, but that's something that you generally mention it at the beginning or in main bold, right? It's significant information, but guess what? It's because they don't have any exports. 99% is domestic. And you'd expect with all of this globalization and UAE and increasing their revenue in Africa and Singapore that there'd be exports going on. But no, we don't see any exports, which is why they're manipulating it there. Best part, let's search up Mishtan, Mishtan Foods basmati rice by India. It's not available anywhere. Nowhere. Flipkart, unavailable. They don't even sell this 10 kg variant. India Mart, unavailable. Get quote, get quote. They don't sell any of these products anymore. I don't know if it's outdated or if it's fake. Either way, it's not applicable. Amazon, unavailable. Again, they don't sell 1 kg basmati like that, and it's not on their website. Now, taking a look at some peer peer comparisons when it comes to their employee costs. We have Dawat, famous basmati rice company. They have about 2,800 CR in revenue and 78 crores in employee costs. That entails a 2.78% KRBL. Yeah. And one moment. Then we have KRBL, right? We have with 4,253 CR in revenue and 101 CR in employee costs, around 2.37%. But Mishtan, 490 CR in revenue and 40 lakhs in employee costs. That entails a 0.08% with indications here. I'm seeing online sources saying 10 full-time employees. That is nothing short of a miracle. That is nothing short of a miracle. No cash flow besides all of this. No cash flow. I'm seeing an online analysis here by a gentleman who did a liquidation value based off a bunch of different methodologies, including the Buffett's way, Warren Buffett's way. He found that the realizable value per share in reality is not the book value. See, the book value is was showing 7.4 rupees, but the realizable value per share is around 2.2 INR, and that is being generous and assuming that the assets actually exist. But is that the case? Is that the case? No. It's even low. It's even lower than that. This is a prime case of finding fraud in financial accounting, forensic accounting, a accurate case study. Now that we dig deeper and deeper into this, we have the screener. We have the screener, and we've gone through the financials. We have gone through all this data. We can conclude now that these profits don't reflect its true financial health. The EPS is false, and the shareholding pattern is not okay. We see taking all of these factors into consideration. One moment. Lastly, and very important point we missed. Remember how this was, I think this is what appeared at the beginning of the video. We see that they joined the Gujarat Global Summit of 2022. By the way, if I haven't mentioned already, the headquarters are in Gujarat, Ahmedabad, Gujarat. They had a MUOU signing ceremony in presence of Shri Bhupendra Patel, the Honorable Chief Minister of Gujarat, for an ethanol plant. We are just going to find that. Uh, one moment. Seems to not be here. Let's just dig it out of our relations, investor relations. Ethanol project. Yes. This is dated 19 September 2022. Mishtann Foods to set up 1,000 KLPD grain-based ethanol manufacturing facility. What do they expect? They expect the project to cost 2,250 crores, give employment to 5,000 plus people, and generate an annual revenue of approximately 3,500 CR. That's bold. And they're doing all of this in partnership with the government of Gujarat. Now, again, that's going to make you think that, all right, the government is now involved in this. That should make it better. More stringent regulations, the chances of them defaulting or generally being involved in fraud would be far, far lower now that the government is involved for their image's sake as well. But frankly speaking, the other factors outweigh this, and that this ethanol project could perhaps be another scheme of expenses over profitability and cash flow, depicting expenses over profitability and cash flow, because you see they're trying to enter all of these product segments: salt, dal, wheat, rice, ethanol, claiming, talking about here the massive unprecedented growth in ethanol manufacturing activities, attractive opportunities. Uh, Again, Russia's invasion of Ukraine. So we see that they're entering all of these industries and they have all of these promises, but they haven't delivered as yet. So the question arises, how long is this going to go on before this company comes to its end and is dissolved? One final time, I'm going to show you an annual report from, one moment, 2014. That's odd. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, 2014. I'm going to show you something. They have no rubric here to guide you, seeming badly structured and planned out, this entire document. Anyways, I need to show you something. Let's forget about all that, give them the benefit of the doubt. It's empty. Balance sheet, empty. Empty. Fixed assets, on empty. They have extremely, remember how I said that their financial accounting was at least on point and everything was on point? That goes for the recent years. We're just going to see that. But this is 2014. Remember that. Clearly, you can see that this is half eye shut type work done. Zero, 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 zero. I mean, what is this? I can guarantee you right now in 4 hours, I can make my 11-year-old cousin have better, make a better balance sheet. I mean, look at this. That's empty for God's sake. It's all empty. What is that? Preliminary expenses. Of course, they're going to write the expenses. I'm just kidding, but as you can see, it's all empty here. Poor. But why don't we jump 10 years ahead to 2024? Let's go to 2024. From local to global, global, apologies. The home base of Gujarat, UAE, and now Singapore. Once again, that's you applaud them for their marketing and their visuals because this report now I can tell you right, is better than large caps. Bunch of large caps reports, it's finer than that. Focusing on all of the good stuff you see here, or rather irrelevant stuff. We go down to the financials though. Hmm. There's improvement. There's improvement. See the balance sheet here. They've added values, working harder. We can see, I mean, at the end of the day, last 5, 6 years, besides besides the fact that they were actually late on reporting their annual income, having their annual report in September, I mean, that baffles me, right? How can a 1,500 market cap company delay by even one working day their annual report? It doesn't make any sense, right? But we see that they've done a good job here. They've added they've added the values. So, in summary, this was an example of a trap, right? And how do we take this? What are the steps forward? Well, I'm going to seek professional advice. I advise everybody here to seek professional advice, information, to do research on their own after going through various steps, coming to a conclusion, then making any moves. But I would love to take advice from senior investors, more experienced individuals about their take on this, whether they'd just stay out or they'd short, because frankly, a bull scenario here I do not see. And we shall get back to that, continue doing some more research, formalizing a written report, and get back. But till then, that was Mishtann Foods Limited, our thesis, and our short scenario bear case published. Thank you.